There are three main reasons why cardiovascular exercise might be a total waste of your time, particularly when it comes to fat loss. And in this video, I'm going to cover all three. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my own personal opinion about what I think of these so-called myths that you see on the internet. Now, this video is simply a response to two things. The first is, I recently had a patient who is a female. She's quite overweight, and she started lifting weights. Not the weights that you think she's lifting. It's more of 3-pound dumbbells and lifting it like this and things like that. And she told me that she saw on YouTube, women should not do cardio, that it's actually dangerous. And I'm like, okay. And then there was a recent video by a guy that developed the X3 system, which is, if you don't know what it is, it's probably been advertised ad nauseum. But I really like the system. It's bands, and you do different band exercise. And I've personally found that band exercises are a lot less strainful on your joints, and I kind of like the exercise. So I watched the guy's video, and he gave these three reasons that I'm going to tell you right now. So let's get into it. The first reason is that cardiovascular exercise is a stress on the body, and when there's stress on the body, it raises your cortisol levels and decreases your growth hormone, supposedly for about 6 hours. Cortisol is a hormone that's made in our adrenal gland, which is a gland above our kidney. And when this adrenal gland secretes cortisol, it forces our body to retain fat. In addition to this, cortisol has another major problem, is that it not only causes our body to retain fat, but also forces us to lose muscle mass. So cortisol is the ultimate culprit in this. When your body also loses some of its ability to produce growth hormone, which is secreted in our pituitary gland in our brain, is something that helps us retain muscle mass. And this is a problem as well. The argument then is that most people that do cardio are thin but fat. In other words, it's a skinny fat person. The second argument, which is an interesting spin, is that endurance training forces your body to learn how to use fat as an energy source. And when your body uses fat as an energy source, the brain starts to learn this as a mechanism. And you're teaching your nervous system to use fat, and thus the body, knowing that it needs fat for energy, is going to try to retain fat. Your body then becomes an efficient machine at utilizing fat for energy. The problem is, the bigger the engine, the more energy it requires. So when you do endurance training, the theory goes that you generally want to shrink the engine. So this is why your nervous system then starts to break down protein in your muscles, and your muscles get smaller as a result of endurance training. In this way, you're going to then become more efficient at utilizing fat for energy. A good example of this would be if you're 190 pounds and you start running as exercise or cycling, and you do it enough that your body becomes more efficient, then you don't want to be 190 pounds anymore. If that person were to lose 40 pounds, then your caloric requirements are less. A 150-pound person requires less calories than a 190-pound person. Since the body knows that it needs to use fat as an energy source, your body starts trying to retain fat. This is why, as the argument goes, cardiovascular exercise is a terrible way to lose fat, because you're almost teaching your body to retain fat. The third argument, which is really interesting, is that When you do cardiovascular exercise, you're not increasing your bone density. In fact, you're decreasing your bone density. So a person, if they require of themselves to go long distances, say a long distance runner, it's very inefficient for the body to be heavy. Thus, your nervous system will try to reduce the engine again and lower bone density so that it's easier to utilize fat as an energy source so you can go longer distance. The analogy is if you weighed 190 pounds, or let's do 250 pounds, it requires a lot of energy to run a marathon. But if you can get down to 130 pounds, then your body is more efficient at utilizing fat as an energy source and can go longer if the frame is smaller. So where does that lead you and I? What are we supposed to do? The answer is we're supposed to do high intensity strength training to muscular fatigue. And what you're doing when you do that is you're sending signals to your brain that you need to be strong and you need to be lean. Because what's going to happen is you're going to load the body so heavily with high intensity exercise that your muscles will grow bigger, your bones will grow stronger. And when you do high intensity exercise, particularly with weightlifting, you're stimulating growth hormone and testosterone in males and females, by the way. And by doing this, those hormones help you reduce your fat storage. Because what's interesting is when you do high intensity weight training, your body is using ATP or glycogen or glucose within the muscle cell to produce the energy. You're not using fat as an energy source. So the trick is, since your brain and your nervous system understands that you're using more ATP, glucose, glycogen for energy, you're not using fat, then your body is going to want to store more glycogen by having a bigger muscle, which can store more glycogen, by the way, and you're just not going to need the fat, so your fat storage goes down. Another argument with this is that the body does not store protein as fat. In other words, you can eat as much protein as you want. Your body will simply not convert that protein into fat. That's the theory. Okay, can we talk for a minute? Because this is very influential conversation. And when I watch this video and talk to patients, it's like, oh, okay, I could see where you're going with this. These things that I just mentioned, these three individual arguments for why cardiovascular exercise is probably a waste of time for losing weight. The only way you can make these arguments and be influential is for you yourself to be really hot, really good looking. Either you have humongous muscles or you're just good looking. And I could tell you that I feel bad for this patient that I was talking to because she's a little bit led astray. And I get it. Listen, if you're watching an influencer on YouTube and they have the body that looks thin and lean with 2 olives on top, with good makeup and good lighting, you can be an influencer and you can influence anybody to do anything pretty much. If you're a dude, if you're good looking, if you've got big biceps, if you got a 6-pack, anything you say is influential to the general public. But first, let's take a global view of the argument that cardiovascular exercise is a waste of time for losing weight. Let's pretend for a minute that these people are right. If that's accurate, then you should be exercising your skeletal muscles, and that's it. And you should be exercising extremely hard to the point of muscular fatigue. If that was the secret to cardiovascular health, which I'm assuming people want, then that's what we need to do. So if you buy into these arguments that I made earlier, then don't do cardiovascular exercise. What do I care? I don't even know you. But let me give you some arguments. The first is that most of these people are talking about fat loss. They're not talking about cardiovascular health. No one seems to talk about it, because if I did a video where I said, here's how you improve cardiovascular health, no one's going to watch that video. But if I have a title that says, it's always, all titles are the same. The one thing your doctor won't tell you about weight loss, or, weightlifting is bad for you, or exercise will kill you. It's the one exercise I'm trying to get seniors to stop. All these titles are clickbait, but they are ways to get people to watch the video. There's no such thing as not clickbait, any title I use. But no one's giving honest advice about cardiovascular health. What should you be doing to improve the strength and fitness and health of your cardiovascular system? Nobody seems to care. People care about weight loss, looking good, looking hot, six packs, this type of thing. So let's go over the first one. The first argument is cardiovascular exercise is something that causes stress to the body, and stress increases cortisol, and cortisol leads to fat gain. These arguments are kind of true, but kind of not. To say that cardiovascular exercise is stressful, but high-intensity weightlifting is not, seems to be a mismatch in my opinion. I have done both, and I could tell you that going out for a 3-hour bike ride with a steady state cardio for my heart, and then getting my bands and doing one set of each exercise, I could tell you that the weightlifting or the exercise bands are a lot more intense and a lot more stressful to me personally. So to make the argument that one is stressful and one is not seems a little twisted, and I'll tell you in just a second where they get this information, but both are stressful. Now the argument probably is valid that if I'm going out for a 3-hour bike ride, that's a lot more exercise than 4 exercises that take me less than 60 seconds to do, because essentially when I'm doing my band exercises, I might be doing 4, maybe 6 minutes total of exercise versus 3 hours. So one could argue that the long distance type of endurance training is more stressful to the body and causes more cortisol release. But the research shows that cortisol increase can occur just from mental stress. So if cortisol increase is from mental stress, and that leads to more weight gain for most people, and we say cardiovascular exercise causes cortisol, we could put 2 and 2 together and say that exercise is raising cortisol, and thus, since cortisol is bad, very few people on the internet say cortisol is good, then that must mean that long distance endurance training makes you fat. That's the argument. And that just seems a little far-fetched. I think where the argument does play a role, if you want to justify that cardiovascular exercise really doesn't lead to weight loss very well, is because for most people, cardiovascular exercise means 20 minutes of walking a couple times a week, or maybe even every day. That seems like it's not going to do much either. But I can tell you from personal experience, because I have patients in my office who are very obese, they have high blood pressure, they have high blood sugar, they have thyroid issues, they have musculoskeletal problems, they have it all, baby, and they don't exercise at all. So if you take a person like that and you have them start exercising by just walking 20 minutes a day, that's a big jump in their health. But if you take someone who rides a bicycle or runs marathons and you say, you should just walk every day 20 minutes, that's not enough for their body. So if you're trying to lose weight, what do? Well, You're going to have to make a decision based upon how you understand health to be. I would encourage you to look at cardiovascular health rather than just weight loss. But from a weight loss perspective, to be honest, if you're obese, if you have high blood pressure, if you have high blood sugar, if you have metabolic disease, if you have all these different problems, pretty much any exercise you're going to do is going to boost you up one notch on the health meter. And that's how you have to think about it. But if you only had 4 minutes, you should do high intensity weightlifting versus 4 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. So time to time comparisons, you're probably going to get more benefit. And that's, I think, where the argument probably wins. Now, before I get into the second argument, let me just say that a lot of times most of these influencers are endorsing also pretty radical diets. And one of the things about cardiovascular health is you need to start thinking quality of food rather than how do I just get lean. It's really interesting because for a number of years I've watched many patients have electrolyte problems and nutritional deficiencies because they're trying to lose weight, which some people are successful at it. But in the effort to lose weight, they restrict themselves to one food and they only eat once a day. I had one patient that was, he does a 3-day fast, so he only eats really twice a week. And it's interesting because they end up having problems with their heart, they end up having electrolyte issues, cramps, and things like that. So you need to supply your body with enough nutrients to be healthy. And one of those things, especially with blood pressure problems, is if you started eating beets, for example, and the leaves on top, you would be so healthy. You really would. But so many people are afraid. For example, beetroots, they have high sugar, so people that are diabetic or people trying to do keto or carnivore will not eat beets. And it's kind of silly. The beet greens have a tremendous amount of potassium. And if you take beet greens and stir fry them with some garlic, salt and pepper, olive oil, they taste so good. But people, again, they're afraid. They're afraid to eat vegetables because they've been told by influencers that vegetables have anti-nutrients. And the argument there is that not only do they not have nutrients, but you have nutrients in your body, but these vegetables will suck the nutrients out of your body. They're anti-nutrient. And it's just such a ridiculous argument. But for a lot of people that either don't like the taste of beets, or you have diabetes, or you don't like the look of beets or whatever, there's a supplement that I like, and I'll show you what it is. It's Nature's Pure Blend, Nature's Beets. You just take 2 of these, and they have nitrates in them, and the nitrates are nutrients that our body uses to create nitric oxide, which dilates our blood vessels and lowers our blood pressure. So I'll put a link down below in the description if you want to look at it. So let's get into the next argument, number 2, that your nervous system starts to learn to utilize fat as an energy source, and so thus your brain will try to retain fat. So again, this is a very strange argument because that's the whole point of endurance training, is that you're teaching your body how to utilize fat as an energy source. The way the influencers twist it is they say that, well, if your body's going to use fat as an energy source, then your brain is going to want to try to help you retain fat. And I've Googled this to try to find out where are they getting these references from, and I just can't seem to find any good arguments for why this is. It's fascinating. So it literally is saying that cardio is making you fat. And it just isn't. For 100 years, bodybuilders have known this, that the stereotype bodybuilder, which most of these influencers are bodybuilders, and what they'll do is they will bulk up. I mean, what's that guy, Sam Solik? And ever since the time of Arnold Schwarzenegger, they've done this. And we're ignoring steroids here for a minute. But what they do is they bulk up, they eat tons of food, they look like fat, strong men, and they'll just lift heavy weights, and they will not do cardio. Why? Because cardio reduces the size of your muscles, cardio reduces fat storage. But then when they want to go into competition and they really want to get lean, what do most of them do? The standard diet is chicken breast without the skin and broccoli. That's it. Then what they do is they start doing more cardio to lose the fat. So since the beginning of time, we have known that the way to lose fat is to not eat a lot of fat and to do cardio. But here, this argument says that cardio actually makes you fat because your body wants to become more efficient at using fat. Your nervous system knows it needs to store fat. Then the third argument is in order to go long distances and do cardio, your body's going to want to reduce the overall mass of the body. So your bone density decreases and the muscle size decreases, because since you're utilizing fat, your body's going to retain fat, but it's not using glycogen, glucose, or ATP for the energy source. So why have a big muscle that is to store glycogen? That's the argument. And again, this just falls flat on its face. However, there is some truth to it. When you do cardio, such as swimming and cycling, these are non-weight bearing exercises. And this is where I think they're finding the argument that long distance cyclists, long distance swimmers, because they're not doing they're not doing weightlifting type of exercise or a weight bearing exercise, they lose bone mass. Now there's a couple reasons why they do this. Number one, they are not doing weight-bearing exercise. Number two, and this is the most important, for many people, when you go out and you do a 3-hour bike ride, 4-hour bike ride, 5-hour bike ride, you are sweating so much. You are losing calcium, potassium, magnesium. You're losing sodium. These are the minerals that your body needs in order to build bone. And so if you're not supplying enough nutrients when you're doing that exercise, your body doesn't have the raw materials to even build bone. And that's where I think this argument happens. So there's a lot of straw man arguments in regard to this problem. So in summary, what do I recommend? The answer, and unfortunately the answer is always this, it depends. If someone is in my office and they bought into some influencer, I'm not going to argue with them, because arguing with a patient, they're almost never going to believe you. But if a patient really legitimately asks me, hey, what should I do? Should I do cardio or weight training? The answer is, if you're looking for cardiovascular health, if you're looking to lower your blood pressure, if you are looking to just start to get the process going of becoming an actual healthy person, then start out one step at a time, building up. And for most people, that's simple walking. That's enough to get them started. As you build up walking, you build up to an hour a day. If you start weightlifting twice a week, you're getting many of the benefits of weightlifting, but you're also getting the benefits of your cardiovascular fitness. Most people that are big and strong and want to do things, they exercise every muscle of their body except their heart. The heart is a muscle. Just as you want a big, strong bicep, wouldn't you want a big, strong heart, a big, strong cardiovascular fitness? I don't know. It seems pretty crazy. But these are my thoughts on it, and I'd be curious what your thoughts are. Again, I'm a big fan of the X3 system. The guy that made these videos stating that, he has videos where it's like, weightlifting is a waste of time, you need to buy his product. His is the best product, of course. Then he makes the argument that zone 2 training or cardio isn't the best way to lose weight, which, depends on who you believe, right? So let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. I'd be curious to see what the community actually thinks. If you have specific questions in regard to blood pressure, your own health and wellness, we actually do Zoom appointments as well as telephone appointments. We do these Zoom and telephone appointments from all around the world. So you're more than welcome to call our office, schedule an actual Zoom or a telephone consultation with me. And what we're gonna do is we are going to section off a piece of our day just to speak to you and answer all your questions. So if you're interested in that, there's a link down below. You can get to my website and then just contact us. Now there is a fee for a Zoom or telephone consultation, so it's not free, but I can promise you this, you're gonna get your money's worth.